Well, we are starting our lesson on how we solve real-world linear equations. That means story problems. Dreaded story problems. Do you guys ever feel like this when you're working with story problems? I've seen this a bunch of times online, and I know that my students feel this way, or at least some of my students feel this way. And I don't want you to feel like this. I want you to feel like you have some direction and some idea of what you're doing when I give you word problems. So I've come up with this list of tips. So if you feel lost or you're not sure where to start with these tips, okay? My first tip is to underline the parts of the problem, the story problem, that give you any information, especially if that information includes any numbers. Obviously, numbers are kind of big in math. Number two, write down what you know that's given in the information from the problem. Okay, so they give you information in the problem. Number three is write down what you don't know. What information was left out? When I'm writing story problems, I have to be kind of subtle in the information that I'm leaving out. And finally, number four, assign a variable to that piece of information that you don't know. Okay, so let's use these tips as we go through our first example. Amelia is inviting a bunch of her friends to her birthday party. She's still deciding where she wants to hold the party. Boondocks charges $8 per person, plus a $60 booking fee. Raging Waters charges $20 per person. For what number of partiers would the cost of the venue be the same? Okay, so let's think about what we do know. That's kind of what I underlined, right? We know how much Boondocks charges, and we know how much Raging Waters charges. Okay, think about what we don't know. What information is left out? Well, right here in this first sentence, it just says Amelia is inviting a bunch of friends. And in math, I don't really know what a bunch means. So this is where a variable is going to come in. I'm going to say x is equal to the number of friends coming. Okay, so notice I found out what information was left out, how many people are coming, and I signed a variable for it. So I'm calling that x. Okay, let's write down a little bit better what we do know. Boondocks, they charge $8 per person. Okay, and instead of per person, I'm going to write down an X because an X is going to represent how many persons or people are going to be there, right? So they'll charge $8 per person that's there, plus a $60 booking fee just for being Boondocks. Okay, let's look at Raging Waters. Raging Waters charges $20 per person. Okay, $20. And once again, per person, I don't know how many people are going to be there. So that's where my variable x comes in. Okay, so the question says, for what number of partiers would the cost of the venue be the same? So in other words, I want to set these both equal to each other to figure out how many friends I would invite that would cost the same to go to Boondocks or Raging Waters. So I'm going to leave out the dollar signs this time because they're just going to confuse me. So I have 8x plus 60 is how much Boondocks cost. And I want to know when that's equal to the cost of being at Raging Waters. Okay, this looks like an equation. Yay! So I have an equation. Now I need to solve it because they're asking for what number of people. So I need to know what x is equal to. So I'm going to solve this equation. So it looks like there's a lot of x's on this side, so let's move all of our x's over here. So that means this 8x is in the wrong place. It's got to go. So let's combine it with its zero pair, which is a negative 8x. And whatever I do on one side, I have to do on both sides. 8x minus 8x is 0. And I'm still just left with that 60 over here. Then I have 20x minus 8x. That is 12x. Okay, so I have 12x is equal to 60. Let's divide this into 12 groups. So divide by 12 on both sides to keep it all balanced. 12 divided by 12 is 1. I'm going to write this over here. So I'm left with a 1x, and 60 divided by 12, if you need a calculator, 60 divided by 12 is 5. There we go. So that means when I invite, remember x represents the number of friends, so when I invite 5 friends, that means it would cost the same amount of money to go to Boondocks or go to Raging Waters. So the solution is x equals 5.